Dang, Samsung, that is impressive. Is the Z Fold 4 really that much better than the iPhone 13 Pro Max? Well, today we will find out because we're gonna compare everything from the design to the speakers, the displays, the cameras, and the performance and see how much more advanced are Samsung's new flagship foldables compared to Apple's iPhone. Let's go ahead and get this thing open. Bam, right away, you see it. I like this new color. I tested the Z Fold 3 last year and I liked it, but a few usability things kept me from wanting to use it, even though I was excited to have a crazy note-taking device that I could have with me at all times. All right, there she is. Man, Vadim, these stickers are everywhere. Is it just me, or does this thing seem smaller and lighter and probably thinner than the previous one? Nope, I'm not. It is actually lighter than last year and thinner, so they've definitely improved that. And the crazy thing is, compared to the iPhone, there's not much more weight. The iPhone actually feels heavier because it's more compact compared to this larger size. It's shorter as well because now the screen is more square, but of course, if we go ahead and fold this thing down, wow, okay, that hinge is strong. Dang, okay, no, the old one was not like this. It feels super solid, requires a fair amount of work to kind of close it, but when it does close, look at that. The gap is also a lot smaller than it was before.
It is, nice.
All right, so far I am very impressed. As far as thickness, when you do fold it, yeah, this thing is thick. Comparing the front displays, the Fold is a lot smaller. It's narrower, so holding in the hand is actually pretty comfortable other than that thickness. And they definitely made the screen wider. It used to have a large bezel on that left-hand side, but the iPhone has a nice large screen. Now, of course, if we go ahead and fold this thing open and compare it, I mean, dang, that is where you get a huge screen difference. Now, of course, Apple has Face ID with that notch. Here you have a selection which includes the fingerprint reader, which is built in the power button, and also face recognition. Now, I'm personally curious, how is this gonna work? Can they use that under display camera for this? All right, it looks like it can. It's using that camera. It actually looks surprisingly good on here. I'm excited to check out the quality because before it was terrible. But yeah, it does work. Now, of course, that's not gonna be super secure. It's not like it has any depth sensors like that. So you probably wanna have maybe some backup security. And look at that. We have a full list of warnings. Do not use your nail because it could scratch it, only the S Pen. It's not dust resistant, it is water resistant, but not immersion. So you definitely still have to be careful with this screen. Now, before we see just how good this Fold screen is, I want to take a listen to the speakers. Last year was pretty good, but it couldn't beat the iPhone. Let's see if it can this year. Dang, Samsung, that is impressive. I think it's better in every way. It's louder, the bass is more punchy, and this thing just has two speakers on the sides. It doesn't have that front facing, so I don't know what you guys heard because we're recording with the mic on top, but it is definitely nicer. And what that didn't show is that if you're holding your hand facing you, you can actually cup the phone and then your hands kind of take the audio from the sides and boost it forward. So you get a nice even sound from left to right because they're the same speakers instead of the iPhone, which is really good. They've improved it a lot, but you still have a smaller speaker on the left that has less bass. So overall, I am very impressed. Getting into the displays, I'm gonna start with the front screen because that is the massive one. But when we open a web page, I don't really see any extra data here. Everything's larger, which is nice, but I'm not getting anything more. Now right here, we have this article, same thing, everything's bigger. So if you're blind, it really helps. But as far as formatting, you're not getting too much extra real estate. Now, of course, some apps support side-by-side, which is nice. So now I could be watching a YouTube video, surfing the web, maybe looking at comments at the same time, compared to just having one full screen app on the iPhone. Now, of course, we also have that front display, which is now filled with fingerprints. Let me go ahead and turn that on. We can open up that YouTube video. Oh, look at all that section for comments. You can see a ton of them now because of how tall of a display this is. But we can switch back over to our browser. Here you go. And this actually works well now. Now that they made it wider, definitely seems more usable. Now, this display can actually go all the way down to 1 hertz. The iPhone can go down to 24 and then up to 120. So this has a higher range, and that will save a ton of battery life, especially for the always-on display, which you can't get on the iPhone yet. Now, the main display goes down to 48 hertz, so not as low, but it goes up to 120, and it is super smooth. Let's go ahead and max out the brightness and compare both of these. Dang, that iPhone gets really bright in manual mode, definitely brighter than the Fold. And with that, the viewing angles, the same thing. Now, one thing I noticed is that when I'm looking at it straight on, I don't really notice that crease. From the side, you can see it. I don't know if it's more minimal than it was before. It doesn't look too bad, but this whole time just stood out to me that I didn't notice it. And then also switching apps, we have this nice little quick shortcut menu on the bottom. So I've just been literally just hitting it, and then bam, all of a sudden it pops up and I don't have to go to my home page or do my app launcher. Now, playing back this HDR video, the Samsung Fold 4 is actually brighter. So that means that they're controlling the max brightness when you just regularly using it, like on that web page. And man, I mean, the colors pop, you have a little bit more contrast, the brightness pops more so. We adjusted that top camera for the brights. It looks better in pretty much every way. Now, of course, you have these large black bars here compared to here, but the video is still larger. And then we can go and zoom it in. So now we're cutting off more of the video than here, but you're getting a massive, basically screen to look at for video. And on the iPhone, of course, we have just that little notch that is cutting out a portion of it. So it looks like sometimes the Fold actually shows you more of the vertical, like that bar, whereas the iPhone, it's wider, cuts it out. And then of course here, the sides are cropped out like some of these other edges here. Overall, I'm very impressed with the Fold's display as well. The iPhone had a big improvement in HDR, but now this is even better. Now, of course, another big selling point is the S Pen, and that's something that you can't do with your iPhone. They have this updated case for it that is a little bulkier than I thought, but offers a lot of protection, and it has this kickstand here. So you can put your phone down and it'll actually hold it, or you can just pull this whole thing out and pop in the S Pen section, and then it will just stay right there on the back of your phone. Now, of course, that does increase the thickness. If you have this in your pocket, I mean, that's gonna stick out even more. So I don't know, I think I'd probably avoid it. This part has a little bit of tape, which I did not take off. But I think realistically, for people that care about the S Pen, it would have been so nice to be able to have it built in. Even if that meant having a mini S Pen, I think that would be a groundbreaking feature and addition that would make a lot of people want to upgrade or upgrade from other devices that supported it in the past. And now let's compare the performance. Obviously, we have the A15 Bionic with 6 gigs of RAM compared to the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. I don't know why they called it that. And here, I believe we have 12 gigs of RAM. Let's go ahead and run the CPU test. Here we go, and that multi-core score isn't actually as big of a difference as I expected. 4,000 compared to 4,700. Single core score, obviously that's a bigger difference, 29%. So Qualcomm can't catch up with Apple at this point. But with this latest jump, with the Plus added, it is graphics that were mainly improved. We're gonna run GFXBench, and I'm gonna use both the 1440p aspect ruins as well as the new 4K one, just so we could see what kind of a difference we get. And look at that, guys. I cannot believe my eyes. For this cross-platform test, the Fold 4 with that new Snapdragon actually beat it. For the 4K test, we have 20.8 frames per second compared to 21. And then the easier 1440p test, we have 36.7 compared to 43 frames per second. That was running with OpenGL. It started running Vulkan. Looks like it's 1 FPS lower, and I canceled running out through that. But that is impressive. I don't know how that's possible, but the other thing that I do know is with this huge screen, I really want to see what it's like to play. Okay, this is crazy. But Ian played last year and it was really nice. And just having such a big screen to play if you are a fan of mobile games and that graphics performance that we now saw, I mean, this is definitely gonna be a great gaming phone. Now, as far as cameras, both phones have 3 on the back. Samsung upgraded the Fold to a 50 megapixel now for a main shooter. And then on the front, we have a 10 megapixel compared to 12. Now, of course, we also have the under display camera. Let's go ahead and test it out. Dang, that looks better than I expected. At first, it shows up very blurry and messy, and then the AI algorithm kicks in and makes it look way better than before. Here's a side-by-side. You guys let me know, is this acceptable enough image to accept an under display compared to the iPhone? Now, you guys know how we like to do camera comparisons. Not in these videos here where we have 1 or 2 photos. We want to do it blind style, which is super fun. You guys can vote along with us. So we are gonna be doing that, and that's coming up soon. Make sure you guys are subscribed to see the iPhone versus the Fold 4 and the S22 Ultra, which is gonna make it even more interesting. Now, with all of that said, I am just very impressed with this Fold. When you look online, it just seems like it's just a tiny update, no changes. Why did they even make another one? But in reality, when you get in your hand, you see all the small updates. They do add up to a great device, and I'm excited to be using it this following week or maybe even longer. Now, I think my one complaint is that the S Pen is not built in. If they did that, it would make it such a big upgrade instead of having in a case and having that pen that's, makes it thicker. And then the other one is just pricing. Of course, this iPhone is $1,100. This one here is still almost $2,000. Now, sure, they'll give you some extra storage, things like that, but people are expecting the prices on these Fold phones to go down as the generations came out, but they haven't. They're still extremely expensive. So you guys let me know, would you be willing to spend that much money for a Fold, and what you think about this one? Click that circle above to subscribe so you guys don't miss out on that camera comparison. Check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.